Project 2 begins on page 126, and we're going to do a couple of different things within this project. The first one is we're going to complete a spell check. It's always a good idea to run a spell check in Excel just for misspelled words and things that maybe you've overlooked. But in Excel, it's a little bit different than maybe a word processing package in that Excel mainly handles numbers, and it's going to be very critical that a user goes back and reviews each one of the cells to make sure the numbers are accurate, because obviously a spell check is not going to check for numbers that have been entered incorrectly. So even though a spell check will kind of do a quick review of words that have been misspelled, you certainly need to go back and manually review your worksheet for errors and numbers too. But we'll look at the spell check that's offered in Excel. We're also going to look at the undo and redo buttons that are available to us on the quick access toolbar. And then finally we're going to take a look at finding and replacing data or text within a workbook, and also we're going to search for cell formatting such as bolding and fill color and replace that with other types of formatting. So a variety of things that we're going to do in Project 2A, and that begins on page 127. I've already pulled up the workbook entitled MR Sales, and have named it as they've requested. We're going to begin the spell check by first of all making sure that our active cell is cell A1, which is at the top of the worksheet, so that it'll search downward throughout the worksheet. So with that, we'll go to the Review tab, where we'll find the Spelling button in the Proofing group. Just click on that. That'll bring up the Spelling dialog box, and the active cursor moves to the first cell where there's a word that doesn't appear in Excel's dictionary. So if there's a controversy or a word that it's not familiar with, it'll stop and at least question to make sure that you've spelled it correctly. The first stop is at Commissions. You can see that in cell A2. You can see that it's not spelled correctly in the Not in Dictionary text box, and then some of the suggestions below are listed there. And what we'll do is select the word that we want to be included in that cell, and the first one is the one that we do want from the suggestions list, so we'll leave that as is, and then we'll click on Change. The next stop is at Salesperson. Again, it's listing the word that's not in the dictionary, and then it provides suggestions. And we're going to just leave Salesperson as is. Click on Change. Notice it's changed it in the background. Then it goes to the next occurrence of an error, which is an amount. Again, we're going to change. The next stop is at a salesperson's name, and you want to double check that obviously, but in this case it is a proper name and it is spelled correctly. So we're going to go through, and if it appears again, we want it to ignore all the occurrences that appear later. If you're not sure if it's going to be another way that you might misspell it, you can just ignore it once and it'll stop again at the next cell that has that same misspelling or supposed misspelling. We want to ignore all so that if it comes to it again, it will go ahead and skip over it. The next stop is at Duplex. You can see that in the background. Again, the suggestions there are listed, and we just want the first one, so we can click on Change to update that or change it. And then it stops at another proper name. Again, we're assuming that that's spelled correctly, so we're going to ignore all. The next stop is at Commercial. Again, the suggestion is correct, so we'll change that. Next stop is Single. The suggestion is what we want, so we'll change. And then it finally says that the spell check is complete, so we'll click OK. Alright, then the next thing we're going to do again is kind of a review. We're going to put in some formulas here. The first one is for the amount in cell G4, and we want to multiply the sales price by the commission percentage. So pretty simple. We'll start out with an equal sign, click on the cell that represents the sale price, and then we're going to multiply that by the commission percentage. I'll press enter. And then that formula needs to be filled all the way down through 26. We don't want to go to 27 because that's where we'll put in another formula that will total the commissions. Now the autofill options button does appear, and if we just dispel that or ignore it, the fill will be a little bit different there. If you click on the drop down arrow to the right of the autofill buttons, we're going to go ahead and choose the fill without formatting. That brings in the fill on every other line, which we want to keep that consistent. In addition, we want to go back up to cell G4, kind of keep it consistent with that first line of data, and we want that to also look pretty similar to what we see in the cell price. And what they've done there is applied the accounting number format style. So we're going to go back to the Home tab in the number group, and I want to make mention here, you're probably seeing a little bit different ribbon than what you've seen in the past demonstrations, and the reason for that is that I was doing some of the demonstrations from home, so my computer at home has a little bit different display of the ribbon. This is a great example of how, depending on what computer you're on, that will determine sometimes how your ribbon displays. At home, I wasn't able to see number or styles or cells or editing. Those were all buttons previously. But at work, notice those entire groups are available. I can see them. I don't have to click on the number button to display them out. They're already there for me. So in the number group, click on the drop down arrow there, and we're going to apply the accounting style, but we don't want any decimal places. Again, we want to keep it consistent with what we see in cell E4. So back up on your ribbon, I'm going to choose the decrease decimal option. Just click on that a couple of times to make it consistent with what we see in E4. Then we're going to scroll down to cell G7 where the total commissions is located, and in G7 we just want to sum the cells above. So we'll go to the editing group. I'm going to click on auto sum. It grabs the cells above, which is what we want, and I'm just going to click on the check mark on the formula bar, and that gives me the 419,650. They want us again to, and this is as a review, but they want us to apply a theme to the worksheet. It's the elemental theme that they want. And to find themes, if you'll recall, back on the page layout tab, themes group, and we're going to go to the themes button and choose elemental. And that kind of gives you a different feel, different font within your worksheet. And then they say once we've applied it, we decide we don't want it. We want to go back to the original formatting. So here's where we get to play with the undo button. If you haven't already used that, this is a wonderful button from the Quick Access toolbar that allows you to undo some mistakes that maybe you've made, or just decisions that you decide later that you don't want. Okay, I apologize for the telephone. That is something you'll probably find different when I'm at work too. The phone may ring and I may have to pause the demos to answer that. So I apologize for the interruption there. But as I was mentioning before, when you apply a format or type in text or whatever and you want to undo it, the undo button on the Quick Access toolbar will allow you to do that. So we'll click on that. That'll take us back to our original theme as they've requested. In Project 2B, we're going to take a look at how we can find and replace text as well as numbers within a worksheet. And very helpful in that you don't have to go through and manually search for text that's being used in a worksheet. The computer does that for you. And then you can control whether or not you want to replace the data. If you want to go to every single cell that has the text or the number that you're searching for, and then control which one gets replaced, or you can have them all replaced in one shot. So you have a little bit of customization that you can apply to the find and replace feature. We're going to search for text first, and the text that we want to look for is land, and we want to replace that with acreage. So to do that, again, we want to start at the very beginning of the worksheet. I'm pressing Control Home. That'll take me to cell A1, and that again will start you at the beginning of the worksheet, so it works its way down looking for the text or numbers that you're searching for. Alright, the find and replace features found under the Home tab, and if you go to the editing group, you'll find the find and select button, and within that you can see the find and replace options. Either one of those will take you to the find and replace dialog box. The only difference is that the find option will take you to the find and replace dialog box with the find tab being your active tab, and replace will take you to the find and replace dialog box with the replace tab being your active tab. So we know that we want to find text and replace it with another word, so we're going to use the replace option. That takes you to the Find and Replace dialog box. And as I mentioned before, we do want to search for all the occurrences of land. And we're going to replace that with acreage. Okay. And we're going to take a look just initially here how it's going to work. I'm going to click on Find Next. It'll go to the first occurrence of the words land, and then at that point you can choose Replace All or Replace. If I choose Replace, it'll go to the next occurrence of land, and if I want to go to each one, if there's 50 in there, I can go to each one of those separately and check it out and determine whether or not I really want to replace that cell with the term acreage. Excuse me. In our case, we know we want every one of them to be changed, so we can choose the Replace All, and it'll immediately go through and replace all of them, and it'll tell you how many replacements were made. You can click OK out of that, and then I'll close out of the Find and Replace dialog box for just a minute, and you can see now acreage was replaced there, several different spots that it was replaced. So that worked with text. And then I also want to see an example of searching for numbers and replacing those with a different number. This one you have to be a little bit careful with, and I'll explain that to you as we get to it. So again, we're going to pull up the Find and Replace dialog box. Again, I'm choosing Replace. Notice the Find is here too, but it's the Replace tab that becomes your active tab when you choose the Replace option. Okay, in this one we're looking for $450,000, and you do not need to put the dollar signs or the commas or anything like that. We want to replace it with $475,000. And the one thing that we want to note here is, if you'll kind of look in the background, you'll notice there are some cells that have $1,450,000, and what the computer will do if you don't do anything else, it'll search for every $450,000 whether it's inside other numbers or not, and it'll replace it with the $475,000. But in this case, the $1,450,000 would be replaced with $1,475,000, and that's not what we want. We're looking for $450,000. So to ensure that you're getting the right numbers, if you go to the Options category, it expands out and gives us some additional things that we can look at here. These items on the right are going to be when we search for formatting within our worksheet. Like if we want to search for bolding, or if we want to search for a certain font color or fill color, we can do that and replace it with another type of format. But for now, in the middle, I want us to focus on match case and match entire cells. We do want to look for just the cells that have the 450,000 in it. Okay, not the one that has 1,450,000 in it. So we'll go through, we'll just do a replace all. 2 replacements have been made. Shouldn't see any more 450,000s, but that 1,450,000 should stay as is. Okay, so you want to be careful with what you're replacing. And just another example, this is not a real good example, but let's say you're replacing the word the with the word and for whatever reason. I don't know why you do that, but if you just type in the text the and, it'll search for all words that have those combination characters within them. And you can see where that can cause some problems, because if you have a cell that has the word there, T-H-E-R-E, it'll stop there and replace it, and so then you would have the word and, A-N-D-R-E. So you want to be careful with that. Just use the match cell contents when appropriate. We're going to continue to use the Find and Replace dialog box by searching for some fill colors within our worksheet. And we're going to look for the light turquoise color, which is up here at the top, and we want to replace that with a light purple color. So, and I know it's pretty contained here, and probably in real life you would just select those 2 ranges of cells and apply the light purple. But oh, here's some down here. See, I would have missed that. So anyway, we are going to have it search for that fill color combination and replace it with the purple. So same steps on the Home tab, Edit and Group, Find and Select. We'll go directly to the Replace. If you've done any searching and replacing or finding and replacing previously, like we've done, we want to take out that information in the Find What box. If you don't, then it leaves that as criteria as well. So it would search for or try to find 450,000 with a turquoise color in it, and it would then try to replace it with 475,000 and a purple. But it would never, I don't think it would find the 450 because we don't have any turquoise cells that has $450,000 in it. But you get the idea. Just make sure that you check your previous searches and clear those out if necessary. Okay, so to search for the light turquoise, we're going to let's go to the first for the Find What. And if this is an option for us, we can choose Clear Find Format instead of deleting it out like we did before on both of those. So that is an option as well. Okay, so to find format, we're just going to click on the Format button. That'll take us into the Find Format dialog box. We want to go to the Fill tab because we're looking for the light turquoise fill. And we're going to click on More Colors. And within that, we'll try to find the right one. Hopefully that's it. If not, we'll see. We'll have to come back. If it doesn't replace anything, we'll come back in and look at this. But we'll click OK there. That shows you the sample of it. Click OK out of that. That takes us then to replacing it with the purple color. So again, I'm going to go back into the Format Cells dialog box, and still on the Fill tab, we want to replace that with the purple in the second row. It's a little bit easier. And click OK. Again, you'll see what it's going to look like. That's the preview of it. And then we'll see if this works. We'll see if that's the same turquoise. Click on Replace All. Oh yay. It says it's replaced 10 of those. So we'll click OK to that. You can see where the 10 replacements represents the 10 cells. So there were 10 cells that were replaced with the purple color. Next, we're going to search for the yellow fill color that you can see in the subtitle, and also the every other rows have the yellow fill color. We want to replace that with green fill color. So we're going to click, first of all I want to click where we see the first fill color, and we'll see if that helps us out later. Okay, and we'll go into the Search and or Find and Replace dialog box. And let's clear out the formats that we have right now. That way we're back to normal. And then for the first one, we're finding the yellow. So again, we're going to go into the Find Format or the Format Cells dialog box. And again, on the Fill tab, we're going to go into More Colors. And with that, we're going to go keep on the Standard tab here. But we're looking for the yellow. It looks like it's about 1, 2, 3, the fifth one up. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's the one that we're searching for. And I'll click OK out of this. Puts it in what it's going to look like. And then we're searching for, we want to replace with the green. So with the green, again on the Fill tab, which is where we are, we'll go to the green in the first row this time. Okay, it's very light green, but then we'll choose Replace All. 78 replacements. So there's 78 cells within here that had the green color. And it looks like all the yellow is gone. So that worked as well. Next, we're going to take a look at searching for font size and the actual font. And very common. Sometimes you have worksheets that have been created and then you decide the font size of that's not real good for like the body of the text or certain areas that you've applied that particular font. So you can go through and search for that font, replace it with a font that you prefer. So again, I'm going to start at the top of our worksheet, go back into the Find and Replace dialog box. We'll clear out the formats, and this time in the Format Cells dialog box we want to go to the Font tab. And currently it's set at Calibri 11 point. And let's go ahead and click OK out of that. And then we want to replace that with Arial 10 point. So click OK there, and you can see a slight difference in that. Just want to double check here to make sure that the bolding. Okay, we'll see if this works. I'll click on Replace All. Should say 174 replacements. So again, it's looking for lots of cells that it's replacing. And our areas that had Calibri 11 point should be changed to Arial 10 point at this time.